Hello there my Jedi and Sith friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It's so great to see you here again. Thank you for joining me as we take another deep dive into the galaxy far, far away. And today's focus, once again, is Ahsoka Season 2. I just can't get enough of the new teaser trailer, and over the last few days since D23 Expo came to an end, I've been breaking down different aspects of it, and going through different frames, different characters, different scenes which I think are very important, especially noting things that you might have missed. And today, we're going to be talking about something which Grand Admiral Thrawn said, which I did touch upon in my trailer breakdown, but is actually way more important than you might think, and there are some big connections to the Aftermath trilogy. One of the most crucial lines from the trailer is when Thrawn announces his return. He addresses the populace of the galaxy as citizens of the glorious Empire, and then he goes on to call the New Republic the Rebel Alliance. Now at first glance, his reason for doing so seems obvious. He's mocking them. He doesn't want to acknowledge the authority of the New Republic, and is trying to diminish their significance as the new galactic government. It's also worth bearing in mind that he was in exile during the Battle of Endor and missed the formation of the New Republic. So in his mind, he was resuming the fight he was part of when he left. But did you know that in having Thrawn address the enemy as the Rebel Alliance, Dave Filoni is inadvertently drawing upon something from the Aftermath books? I don't know if Dave did this deliberately. Considering Cobb Vanth was brought into the Mandoverse, I think it's obvious he's read those books. But in that trilogy after Return of the Jedi, a handful of remnants actually debated how to address the new government. Some addressed them by their official name, whereas others refused and maintained they were still the Rebel Alliance. The reason being that the scattered remnants didn't believe that the Empire was truly dead. Even with Palpatine gone, they still had faith they could topple this government. They were nowhere near as competent as the Republic of old, so to them, they were still just a group of rebels. All of this took place on the planet of Akiva, where following the Battle of Endor, an Imperial summit took place. Obviously Thrawn wasn't part of this. Maybe Morgan Elsbeth or now Pellaeon caught him up to speed, but in calling the New Republic the Rebel Alliance, Dave Filoni might be giving us a very interesting nod to the Akiva summit. The meeting involved Ray Sloan, Jilia Shale, Valko Pandion, UP Tashu, and Dawson Crassus. And here's a quote from Aftermath. "This meeting is to decide the fate of the Empire, with the input of several advisors and not just one." Ray Sloan says, "If I wanted to take the Ravager and seize control, I could make that attempt and I might even manage it. But I'd rather not make the same mistakes as in the past." The emergency summit was to determine what the Empire should do next, but it quickly devolved into infighting, which was exactly the plan. In secret, the meeting had been staged by Gallius Rax, with the main objective of eliminating rivals. He believed himself to be the true successor to the Empire. And as we know, this story ties into the Battle of Jakku, Grand Admiral Sloan going into the unknown regions, and so on and so forth. But during the summit, there was a debate as to whether or not to call the New Republic the Rebel Alliance. And now that Thrawn is back, whether or not he knows about this meeting, he maintains the very same position. The so-called New Republic is illegitimate. But we also have some other very exciting Ahsoka updates. Another familiar face is returning. Xander Berkeley, who played Captain Pellaeon in The Mandalorian Season 3, is back, which isn't too surprising considering Thrawn is back in the known galaxy, and in his absence we know that Pellaeon has been his representative on the Shadow Council. As he told them just before Moff Gideon's death, Thrawn's return will herald in a new age for the Imperial military. Captain Pellaeon is vital to Thrawn's operation, and if you're a fan of Heir to the Empire and Timothy Zahn's work, then it's even more reason to be excited. Another huge reveal for Season 2 comes from Rosario Dawson herself. Despite the season not dropping until January 20th, Rosario Dawson has already been teasing the Ahsoka Season 2 ending. Apparently the finale brought her to tears. She said this: "There was one thing in the final episode, Dave Filoni sent me a draft of it, that he only sent to me, and I was in tears. Does this mean someone is gonna die? I think that's inevitable. If I had to place a wager, I would say that Baylan is the most likely death. But on the side of the good guys, the New Republic, maybe Hera. I'm just speculating, I have absolutely no clue. I think we can all agree that Dave Filoni is not going to kill off Ahsoka herself, especially with his upcoming Mandoverse movie at some point, and more Mandoverse projects rumoured. In other Ahsoka news, my friends, in addition to influences like Lord of the Rings, Dave Filoni just confirmed that Jason and the Argonauts inspired the second season, which honestly, with all of the monsters and the Night Sisters and the robots, isn't too surprising. Jason and the Argonauts is one of the most famous stories in all of Greek mythology. It tells the tale of the hero Jason, who leads a band of legendary heroes called the Argonauts on a dangerous quest to retrieve the Golden Fleece. It's not too difficult to see how this might align with Ahsoka, notably the journey of Ahsoka and Sabine. They're trying to stop Balin in his quest, they travel strange worlds, have to face different Force entities, and hopefully at the end, they return home. Filoni also says that Season 2 is going to be, quote, bigger and better. And so finally, my dear friends, I just want to finish with some more updates from around the galaxy. We have some big news for the next Star Wars film, Star Wars Starfighter. And following my coverage of D23 Expo, where I broke down the trailer, we had a few new reveals and a few leaks that dropped, but today there is more. Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling have been hyping the film, but so has writer Jonathan Tropper. He's got a few interesting comments following the revelation that Starfighter is a very unique kind of Star Wars movie. Unlike episodes 1 to 9, there is no central galactic government at the heart of the film. Sean Levy confirmed that 5 years after the rise of Skywalker, there is no resistance-led New New Republic, there is no resurgence of the First or the Final Order, it really is a time of anarchy. And funnily enough, the fan response to these comments has been largely positive. It seems that Star Wars fans don't want another story of rebellion versus empire or First Order versus resistance. All of that is passé, and so thrusting us into this period of time that is a complete unknown might actually be a very good thing for the future of Star Wars. But today, my friends, the writer of the film has provided us with a bit more context about this approach. Here's what he said. What we wanted to do was tell a story that was free of Star Wars mythology. We didn't want to be tied down by what came before, and we wanted something with as few barriers of entry as possible for new fans and new viewers. And here's the big bit. This isn't a Skywalker saga movie. We're not dealing with the history of the rebellion, the First Order, the Resistance. We're kind of beyond all of that. It's a simpler Star Wars movie. And to be honest, that was the impression I got from the trailer. The focus is on the visuals, the aerial combat, the fastest starfighter in the galaxy, which Ryan Gosling's character Cade stole. And while I found the footage very impressive, it doesn't feel like the same Star Wars universe. And honestly, that can be both a very good thing, a fresh new start for this franchise, but I can understand why there has been a bit of fan concern. But keep in mind, in the trailer that leaked online that was shown behind closed doors, we were only introduced to our heroes. We don't know the kinds of villains that are out there. I'm actually very intrigued by the idea that different sectors are run by different warring states. The galaxy is set up with different competing factions, pirates, scoundrels, dark side cults, because as we know, there was a rumor that Mia Goth wields a lightsaber in this film. And to my mind, having all of these different forces is more nuanced and interesting than a good guy republic versus a bad guy empire. It's been done to death. So I have to agree with the fans who see a lot of potential in this approach. But there does have to be a balance, because while I think Galactic Anarchy is exciting and harkens back to some expanded universe stories, I still believe the movie needs something of a secure, contextual backdrop. It's only been 5 years since episode 9, and even if Sean Levy didn't want a centralized power that has dominion over the galaxy during this time, even if this story is separate, you can't ignore the aftermath of the Battle of Exegol. If the rumors are true, and there have been attempts to set up a new Jedi Order, then where it concerns the heroes of the sequel trilogy, there are certain things in motion. And I understand, there's a good chance the character of Cade and his nephew don't come across any of that, but if they are going to be traveling the galaxy, if the kid does have the Force, and his uncle is trying to take him to a Jedi temple, then at a certain point, you do have to acknowledge some of those ties. But I think this is very promising. Jonathan Tropper says this is a simpler Star Wars movie. And in a way, Starfighter is to the sequel trilogy, what Skeleton Crew was to the Mandoverse. There were broader connections with the New Republic X-Wings, the B-Wings and the Corvette, but generally speaking the entire story was very detached. It didn't have any connections to Ahsoka, to Mando or Grogu. It almost existed entirely self-contained within the New Republic era. I think they're doing something similar with this film.